Gary Robinson, DC delegation. May I reserve my right to yield to Delegate Lichtenstein?
Yes, that is your right.
I think that this is a great bill that does a lot, and I rarely seem to find a negative consequence in the bill. A lot of people are saying about the regulations I think for the ads that will be on there, but I'm sure that the United States Postal Service will have something to be able to control what is on or what is not on their carts because they want to maintain revenue. This proposal will bring a lot of money that the United States Postal Service needs desperately, as the author has stated himself. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time to Delegate Listen.
Minute, 10 seconds.
Thank you, Paul Lisbon of Missouri. I apologize for my egregious error earlier, and I would like to rise in full support of this piece of legislation. I feel the United States Postal Service serves a function that is not served by any other group or organization in the United States of America. It is something that no other company can do, and it's a role that no other group can fill. I feel that the United States Postal Service does something that no one else can do. And additionally, when it comes to this, we can see that the United States Postal Service has plenty of room for advertising, and when you look at the advertising, it's sitting in front of your house, on your street, every single day. The advertising will be successful, and when it comes to this piece of legislation, I think that you should all give it really low ratings. Thank you.
Thank you. This proposal is an excellent idea, but its very premise is flawed in the idea that it believes that even if the Postal Service is slightly changed, that a public corporation per se can survive and be effective in today's world. This is not true. Consider the alternatives. Consider NASA. In 2007, 2008, several countries in the European Union and Boeing here in the United States sued our government for the existence of NASA because they found that a public corporation was unfairly monopolistic. The reason public corporations can take any amount of debt they want, the fact that our government obviously has no problem accumulating and spending deficit spending, and the fact that the Postal Service exists as an entity that competes with private sector corporations like FedEx and UPS while being able to take on all of this debt is unfair to the private sector. Further, the fact is that this proposal neglects the idea that in every single circumstance in modern history, really, a privatized corporation or a privatized entity has been more effective than the public entity. And so if USPS were to be privatized, then many problems would indeed be solved. I'll yield the rein of my time to Lovett.
You have yielded 45 seconds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. William Love, Washington, D.C. delegation. I'm in total opposition to this proposal because I feel as though the post office is only to do one thing. Give me my mail, give me my letter from my grandma, give me my birthday card from my uncle. And I feel as though having advertisements on these postal trucks, on the carts, as the other delegates stated, it would just end up like Talladega Nights. Just a lot of advertisements, just a big distraction. We all saw Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby, Go Fast, and whatever. But this proposal is just a bad idea, and I feel as though we should all vote no. And I yield my time to the chair.
Thank you, Chair. Adam Penn, delegation of New York State. I would like to reserve my remaining time for the Speaker's closing statement.
That is your right.
Thank you. I leave you with just one question. Why not? Why not shouldn't these mail carriers and trucks have the right to advertise what they want on their trucks and all other organizational needs to promote revenue for their companies? Right now, we are $14.32 trillion in debt. This organization alone just feeds the fire. It's like a giant puzzle. And this, without this proposal, the puzzle piece will just fit into the puzzle and make everything worse. The USPS, with the passage of this proposal, can create an upwards of $100 million in new revenue. This is something that we are highly in need of, being that we lose revenue at a daily basis of $4.11 billion a day, only contributing to our national debt. And like I've stated before, without this proposal, this issue is only feeding the fire that we face every single day. Thank you.
Cameron Grant, the Republic of Texas. I reserve my right to yield the remainder of my time to Ron from Louisiana.
That is your right.
Okay. In April of this year, the Government Accountability Office officially labeled the Postal Service as non-viable. And it's because of a couple fundamental reasons that aren't being addressed by the proposal at hand, it will still be known as not viable under the proposal. The first of which is the decrease in mail volume. Since 2001, since the peak of mail volume, it's decreased by 19% overall. This can be correlated to the increase in technology, meaning now we're continually the Postal Service is continually losing its place due to email and technology. The second major barrier, and the reason why it's not viable, is because of union agreements.
See, the fact of the matter is that currently they have 500,000 of their employees currently have protection and are members of the union. This is compared to the overall employment of the Postal Service of 570,000 employees. Now, the problem here is that currently is twofold. First off is that we currently have $90 billion in liabilities due to current healthcare plans. But the problem here is the union contract for the plan. He specifically states in his second mandate under proposal for action is how we'll be reverting the pensions. The problem is that the current pensions are already in the union contract, which if under the proposal we'll be breaking these union contracts, leading to the fact of how we'll have virtually a complete and utter strike. The mail will go nowhere, we will have a strike of the Postal Service across the board. Now, the third and final problem is the fact of how $100 million is going to do nothing. This quarter alone, the Postal Service lost $2.2 billion. $100 million will do absolutely nothing to stop that. The Government Accountability Office noted that in 10 years it will have a debt of $238 billion. Currently, under the proposal, we will not be making the Postal Service any more viable than it currently is. Thank you. I'd like to give the
Time has elapsed.
Thank you. Delegate Taylor, State of Connecticut. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. It doesn't matter if you're at the top of the Blue Ridge Mountain or out in the cornfields in Iowa, you will always get your mail, and the United States Postal Service will always be there. The idea that a private company will hold these standards is absurd. Why would a private company whose mission is all about profit bother to send mail every single day out in the fields in Montana for 41 cents a letter? It doesn't make sense. Now I'd just like to address as many as I can of the CONA arguments. To start, the UPS in each quarter does not lose $2.2 billion. Every year, for the past 10 years, the USPS has lost $1.2 to $1.7 billion a year. But that includes $5.5 billion that they start with in deficit every year due to overfunding their pension. Addressing union contracts. If the delegates would please read in the third action, proposal for action, we would be moving postal services into stores. Under union contract, postal services and postal offices in stores like your local Stop and Shop would not need unionized workers. Now, this does not mean unionized workers would be fired. Under current contract and current law, USPS union members cannot be fired. They cannot, but they do not have to be replaced. So once a USPS worker does retire, we can replace them with a non-union worker. In the argument for mail volume, from 1998 to 2008, mail volume did decrease 29%. However, in that same amount of time, revenue went up. So to say that it is the decrease in mail flow is an inefficient argument since the cost and the actual money that they made increased. Going over how we have control over the USPS. In 1970, we had an act that reorganized the United States Postal Service, and it no longer became a department of the government. However, the USPS still is a quasi-federal agency. To clarify previous speakers, there is no federal subsidy to the United States Postal Service. There is no 1/3 subsidy to the cost. The only subsidy the United States Postal Service is offered by the government is refunds from nonprofits and any NGO that is mailing. That is the only aid they get, aside from bailouts from the debt that they do not have to be incurring. In regards to no school buses having ads, many school buses in many districts around the country are starting to put ads on their school buses for the exact reason the Postal Service should be. They are losing money and they need new innovative ways to make it. In regards to $100 million not being anything, $100 million is $100 million. $1 is beneficial to the United States Postal Service, as long as it's in profit, which this would be. Moving on from any of the advertising, the main issue here is the pension. The United States Postal Service should not have to overfund its pension. The pension obligations are already met. The $75 billion is a profit, it is a surplus. This is money that the Office of Personnel Management has said the USPS cannot touch. That is Congress's office saying that the USPS cannot touch money that they overestimated and overpaid into their own system. If you just took $10 billion from the $75 billion, there would be no debt in the United States Postal Service. Attach that with readjusting the pension organization, and every year the United States Postal Service would start with no debt. But with that, they would make almost $1 billion a year in profit. Now keep in mind, this is a non-profit organization, so if they can continue to make $1 billion in profit, they can keep stamp prices at the price that they are now. And in conclusion, the United States Postal Service may have a monopoly on first-class mail, but they still compete with shipping services. Last year, the United States Postal Service made $34 billion in first-class mail, $17.3 billion in advertising in their mail, $8.7 billion in shipping services, $1.9 billion in periodicals, and $1.5 billion in packaging services. The four of those can compete with private businesses. I urge you all to pass this proposal, for this is something that will fix the United States Postal Service and leave it with a profit. And I yield the remaining time to the chair.